Recognizes Ms. Simon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Ranking Member. Before my remarks, I just have a couple of questions. My first question is to the elected AG of the District of Columbia. Can you talk very briefly and educate all of us on the victim services that your office provides to victims?
In virtually every case where we have a victim that's been harmed, we're working with them not just to make sure they're available, they access the services they need, both economic and financial support, as well as emotional and counseling support to make sure they're taken care of.
And AG, would you say that your Victim Services Division is equitably funded?
We can always use more money to make sure that we're providing that critical service, but the team I have is doing an extraordinary job with what we have.
And what you all provide is not only protection for witnesses, is that correct?
We certainly do more than just protecting the witnesses, yes.
Is it also making sure that victims of domestic violence have opportunities to leave their abusers and save their own lives?
One of the things that we do every day is making sure victims of domestic violence are getting protective orders and making sure that they are protected from people who may be putting them in a dangerous place.
Isn't it true that you work with mothers of murdered children?
We do.
Isn't it true that you provide burial and counseling assistance for folks in our communities who have been victimized by violence?
We do.
And I want to thank you for that work. AG, would you also say that in the District of Columbia, the young people that you are prosecuting do not have readable access to mental health supports in the District of Columbia?
We know that we have a job to do, which is holding young people accountable when they commit crimes, and we are doing that every day. But too often we see the young people that are coming into the criminal justice system struggling with terrible trauma, mental health, behavioral health challenges, and we can't ignore that need too. We've got to do both. And while we will do the prosecution work, and we will continue to do that, we can't ignore the fact that there are causes that lead to repeat offenders, violent offenders, and sometimes it's the mental health and trauma that young people are carrying around. If we don't ignore it, and if we do ignore it and don't address it, we are going to be continually fighting this issue.
Wouldn't you also agree, AG, that reentry services create opportunities for young people who have been convicted and have served time in the juvenile detention facility, the opportunity to stop the pattern of committing crime?
100%.
Would you agree that the defunding of reentry services increases the likelihood of young people not being able to do the rehabilitative work to be able to maintain their civility and their opportunities to do the right by all of us?
Well, if we don't take care of kids after they have been committed, after they've faced consequences with getting back into community and making sure that they have healthy, hopeful pathways, kids with hope are safer.
And that's not soft. I would say that that's not soft on crime. Would you agree that if you have to charge every 14-year-old and put them in an adult cage, that when they get out, because they will get out, that they will be worse than when they came in?
We know that to be true.
We know that to be true. Over 40% of young people who are charged as adults, they do get out and they are more likely to offend than if they were processed and rehabilitated in the juvenile court. Is that not fact?
We need to make sure that young people, when they commit crimes, are held accountable with swift and certain consequences, and we are doing that. Long prison sentences or putting kids into the adult criminal justice system does not make us safer in the long run, and that's what I'm committed to. I want our DC to be safer now and into the future, and we can do both.
One of the reasons why I abandoned my, my prepared remarks, I spent almost 30 years working with some of the most troubled young people in my community. And in the programs that I developed and implemented, we reduced crime and recidivism by almost 70% of young women who are in the juvenile justice system. And that work was not done by prosecuting them as adults and putting them into cages to rot. What we did was invest deeply in their rehabilitation, but also in their accountability and ensuring that the victims were made whole. So I want to thank you all for your assertion that DC not only can govern itself, but if we were to do right by victims and right by children and right by families, we would fund education, we would have free child care, we would ensure that every person who was seeking health care could get it. We are so far from that vision. So instead of problematizing the elected leaders of this city, I would hope that in the future, that folks who have no experience in law enforcement on this body listen to the experts. Thank you so much, and I yield back.
Thank you.